Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to Our Nerdiest Thing. Today, we're going to be discussing It Ends With Us, the book versus the movie. Before we get started, we are talking about It Ends With Us, so trigger warning for that in and of itself, and also for the heavy themes of domestic violence. I wanted to point everybody to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, which is 800-799-7233, or you can text the word BEGIN to 88788. If you or somebody that you know needs help with that. There are resources available to you. Should have been a disclaimer at the beginning of the It Ends With Us movie, or at least the beginning of the credits.
I talk about that a little bit later. Yeah. It's like, maybe a little trigger warning.
I know, right? Yeah. So trigger warning for that. And also listen all the way through, guys. We've got a great interview with author Courtney Dean. She was a delight to talk to. She's super fun. So make sure you listen for that. And before we get into everything, Deb, will you please share our nerdiest cocktail?
Of course. This week's cocktail is named Karma for Creeps with a K.
Yeah.
It's got pomegranate juice and Irish whiskey, which is sweet and smoky, just like Rowan Cane.
Ooh.
And if you're not participating in our read-along episode and you have no fucking idea what that means, we're reading Butcher Blackbird, and you should really join us. And the first episode just dropped last Thursday, so you should go listen to it.
Woot,
woot, woot. But Rowan Cane is a spicy Irishman.
An Irishman and an Irishman.
Yes, he is.
Haha. Thank you so much, Deb.
You are so welcome. I don't know when you say that, I'm like, I don't know how to respond. You're okay.
You did it. Check mark.
Check.
Gold star for everybody. Let's move into our nerdy news and nerd alerts. I had lots last week, and I have 0 this week.
That's okay. We'll make up for it.
Yeah. So, Mindy, you want to go first with your nerdy news?
So first I've got Somewhere Beyond the Sea by T.J. Klune. And that's the sequel to The House in the Cerulean Sea, which was a very, very popular book. It releases on September 10th. And then also releasing on September 10th is a book called This Will Be Fun. And it actually sounds really fun. It's by E.B. Asher.
It would be disappointing.
It would be really ironic if it wasn't.
It was a sarcastic title.
Calling a Batman Slim.
Yeah. So Goodreads describes it as The Princess Bride meets people we meet on vacation.
Ooh.
So it's a quest romantasy about a group of friends who used to defend their magical land together, but parted ways and haven't talked to each other for a while. And they're reunited at a royal wedding, but end up on an adventure to save their realm.
Oh, that
Do you
sounds
think
fun.
if you used to defend the lands together in because you just said they don't see each other for a while, do you think they're like, dude, I've fucking had enough of you. We had to kill people and go to war.
I think it depends on how traumatizing the
actual saving was. Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
Or was it they just stood at the door of the castle
together.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what happened? Did they outgrow it? Like, did they have families and be like, peace out? Or what?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. How do you just stop doing magical help?
I guess we're just gonna have to read it and find out.
No, they stay friends forever, and they all live together on one big compound.
Forever, always will be there.
Oh man, classic.
That
Saved by
is
the Bell.
not my only Saved by the Bell reference. I'm just saying. Okay, so for my nerd alert and nerdy news, I want to first talk about a book that came out in between our seasons, because not only does it sound like something we would all love, but it's titled, get this, Banana Pants.
Oh, that sounds like something right up my alley.
I'm on board.
It is written by Penny Reed, and it just came out on August 6th. So it, like I said, just came out between the seasons. So this book is about two estranged childhood friends who unexpectedly run into each other at a party. The problem is that the girl went to the party using a fake accent and name, and the boy is there as a thief.
Ooh.
It's a rom-com. It's supposed to be really funny. And
sounds fun.
I put a hold on it at the library, and there's a 26-week wait.
Oh
Holy
my gosh.
crap.
And it's not an audio, so
Oh, man.
that might be a buyer.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, okay, I'll just pay the $8 or whatever.
I was about to say,
whatever
that
it
might be a
is.
shower, not a grower. So the next book I want to talk about comes out on August 27th, which is today, and it is called Long Live Evil by Sarah Reese Brennan. And I've heard a lot of people say that they would love to enter the world of their favorite book, right? And I've always disagreed with this. As a mostly fantasy reader, I cannot handle heavy swords, dragons, and no warm water. I
would die.
I can't do it. Yeah. Having said that, that's what precisely this book is about. A girl on the verge of death makes a magical bargain to enter her favorite book and falls in love with the villain.
Ooh.
I wonder what's going to happen. To take a phrase from Whitney.
Yeah.
The next book I want to talk about is Heartbreaker by Sarah Kate. That comes out on August 30th. And this is a professor-student dark romance set in the Good Brothers series. So there's 2 books before this about 3 brothers. The Good Brothers.
We're talking about college. Do you say professor?
Student professor.
Yeah, student professor.
Okay.
Yeah, she's not underage.
Yes.
Thank God. Okay. And the final one is Hunted Heir by Holly Renee. That also just came out on the 20th. This is the second book in the Veiled Kingdom series that has enthralling secrets, impassioned enemies, and luring tension, which I read as enemies to lovers, one bed.
That's what it sounds. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, all of these have just come out or are about to come out.
Some really good ones in there.
I'm going to cough. I'm so sorry. I was trying really hard not to.
Whitney has a cold. I think I got the black lung pops.
Well, the cough drops really help, but then it's like in the microphone. Which, like,
Don't ever do that again.
nobody wants that. Thank you guys for that.
Hold on, you have to start over because you just went.
I was just sighing. That's just how I breathe right now. Okay? Thank you guys for all of your nerdy news. Sorry I did not carry my weight there. But I do have 3 books for what we're reading right now.
Right.
If that makes up for
Do
it.
tell.
Well, these are kind of all convince you to read these books. So I have 2 arcs and then 1 new release. So the first arc that I read this week was Homesick by Tyra Lynn. And I wanted to make sure and pronounce that correctly because I realized I kept writing her name down as Tara. And there's a different author named Tara Lynn that has like a bunch of other books, but it's not this one. Tyra Lynn. This one is a small town second chance romance. There's forced proximity, a 1-bed trope. It's very sweet. It's very like feel good, super quick read, very nice, like read a fantasy book and then read this one as a palate cleanser before you move on. It came out on August 16th. Highly recommend that. And then the second arc that I read this week is Broken by Daylight by Elizabeth Helen. They are the sister author duo. They write a Beast of the Briar series, which is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Broken by Daylight is book 4. It comes out on September 10th. I am very invested in all of these characters, and I loved the different twists and turns in this book. This book, honestly, was a little flatter for me compared to the first 3. And for me personally,
Tell everyone why.
It was the spice. It was the spice, which is just a very personal, like it's not bad writing or anything. It's just what I just don't like it. So, first of all, the girlfriend has multiple mates and there's lots of dire situations and she's separated from several of her mates at different points throughout the book, but she's always with at least one mate, and it is always like DTF, like no matter what is going on. And some of the time I was kind of like, okay, you like there's stuff you should be worried about right now and not just like getting railed, but also get yours.
It's like when we read what did we read by Raven Kennedy last season?
Oh, goals.
Oh, they're literally going to war and he's like, I'm gonna fuck you up against this wall, okay?
Yeah, it was kind of like that, but like all the time with all of her mates, which, you know, that's fine. But also, some of the dirty talk for me was just not it. I can't handle both baby girl and daddy being spoken in the same sex scene. Like in the same sex scene, I just can't.
But this was the one that's supposed to be like Pedro Pascal, right?
That character,
yeah,
it is, and that made me really sad because I'm not a baby girl, but I am a Pedro stan. So
Pedro
I just
Pascal girl.
Yes, so I just kind of skipped over that, but I still really liked this book and still highly recommend the series. Maybe just a trigger warning if you're also not a baby girl like me. And so those were the two.
I'm a big girl.
Yeah, I'm a big girl. I'm a woman.
I'm a good girl.
Yeah, I say good girl.
Right.
Yes,
I can be a good girl.
Good girl. Yes.
Okay, I have to tell you, earlier we were about to eat dinner and I told my husband I wanted to eat in the sunroom because it was really nice out, and he goes, sure, whatever you want, baby girl. And I'm like, no.
I'm going to stop you right there.
I was like, this is going to be on the podcast this week. You cannot call me that.
Especially this week since we've been talking
Yeah.
about it. Like,
Yeah.
so sorry.
Thanks for dinner, Daddy.
The new release that I read, I also highly recommend. Born of Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is book 4 in the Flesh and Fire series. This is the final book in that series. This is basically a prequel series to the From Blood and Ash books, focusing on Seraphina and Nyktos, also known as Ash. I really, really loved it. I actually took several days to read this book this time, when normally I would read it in like 24 hours, because I was trying to slow down and like actually read every single word and not just like, okay, but when's the action? What's happening next? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I did read it more carefully, and I really liked it. I loved it a lot. I love those characters. This was a 5-star read for me. I had chills and tears at the end of the book. It was just really good.
So I want to say I'm currently reading that, and from page 1, it felt like a From Blood and Ash Fire and Flesh series book in a good way.
Yeah.
Like the dialogue was there. I feel like the chemistry's really there.
Yeah.
I really have enjoyed watching Sarah grow as a character. And yes, I said Sarah because I cannot for the love of God call her Sierra. I cannot. But I'm really excited because from what you've told me and some other reviews I've read, we get a lot of questions answered about the From Blood and Ash books. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but while we don't have a date for that final book, which is The Primal of Blood and Bone, JLA did say it's going to drop in 2025.
I saw that.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, 2025. So I'm hoping closer to January.
Right. But hey, even if it's August, that's only a year.
That's true.
Right. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty thrilled about that.
Lots of time to reread maybe every single
I mean,
book in the universe.
Not me.
I'm pretty sure I've read the first 3 books twice this year, so I'll be able to get it in.
Yeah, that's what she said. What are you guys reading?
Well, I just told you. What about you, Whitney?
Well, not you, Deb. Mindy, what are you reading?
Mindy, what are you reading?
I am reading an arc because I feel like that's all I do these days.
Me too, yeah.
But I really like it. It's called The Book Swap, and it's by Tessa Bickers. I believe it's her debut novel. And it's about a woman who has recently gone through a tragedy. And I don't want to tell you what it is because it kind of comes out as you read the book.
Spoiler.
Yeah, it's a little bit of spoilery. And decides that she needs to kind of start picking up the pieces. But as she's like Marie Kondoing her house, she accidentally donates her favorite book, her annotated To Kill a Mockingbird. She does it to like a little local library, like one of the little libraries.
I would cry.
Yeah. And so when she goes back to look for it, when she realizes her mistake, she knows what she did. She doesn't find it at first, but she keeps checking, and then she does find it, and it has more notes in the margins that like added to hers, and an invitation to meet her, meet me in another classic book. And so they basically turn into pen pals through these books, but like notes in the
cool.
margins. So they start swapping notes and things. I'm only about halfway through. It's really good. I really like it. I will say the cover makes it look very like fun Emily Henry rom-commy, and it's not. It's a little heavier than that. So just
It was
warning.
the same marketing team as that it ends with us, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Grab your girls, wear your florals. What are you guys watching?
I'm watching an oldie but a goodie. I'm watching season 6 of Gilmore Girls.
Oh, yeah.
That's such a comfort show for me. It's perfect to have on the background or just to veg out and watch. And so I recognized yesterday that I was almost to the end before you get to a year in the life. But those episodes are very good. They are just not the same. And so I was kind of sad.
Yeah, they're very much not the same.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
What about you guys?
I love Gilmore Girls. What are you watching, Minnie?
I think I mentioned last week that I started rewatching Alias, so I'm still going through those. I just love that show. I forget how smart and intricate it is.
What season are you on?
I'm still on the first season.
Are you
Season 2 and 3 is where it's at.
Are you watching it like streaming somewhere or?
It's on Disney Plus.
Oh,
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, I know what I'm doing later tonight. Although I'm still watching.
You're gonna watch
Buffy.
her fiance die. How dare you?
Yeah, well,
Spoiler alert, but that came out in 2005.
And it was the very first episode.
I was going to say that's the first episode, so that's not really a spoiler. But I'm watching Buffy. I finished season 3. I made a couple of notes because there were a couple of things that I thought were really funny that I don't know if I was supposed to think they were funny, but I did. I really enjoyed the principal getting eaten by the demon
absolutely.
thing. I thought that was pretty great. And then Wesley when he and Cordelia finally like kiss, and then they're both like,
Ew.
no, thank you.
So I told you this via text, but he goes to the show Angel after this, and he gets like weirdly hot for a minute.
Well, I told you guys, it took me a few episodes to realize that he is Allison Hannigan's husband in real life. Like I thought he looked familiar, and then after a few episodes, I looked him up, and I was like, oh, because he's in How I Met Your Mother. Like, I just did not realize that at all. Because I don't think he's a bad looking dude, but they made him very dorky.
Right.
And
he gets less dorky
in
in
Buffy. But no, I enjoyed that a lot. The season finale of season 3, I weirdly, maybe it's not weird, but I felt weird because I like kind of didn't care that Angel was leaving. But I think that maybe it's because I knew that he had his own spinoff show the whole you know what I mean? Like I knew that
you knew you were going to see him again.
At some point I knew he was going to leave Buffy because I knew he had his own show. So I was just kind of like, okay, bye. And I also knew that I remembered a boy from the college years. I don't remember what his name is, but I remembered him, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's a love interest. So like, I just knew Angel was leaving the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really care. And then I was like, I feel like the fandom would be like, no, you should be affected by the fact that our heroine's heart is broken.
I'm sure we were back in 2000.
Right.
Well, sure, but I didn't, I wasn't allowed to watch vampire shows. Look at me now, Mom.
I will say, as soon as you're done with Buffy, you do need to watch Angel, though.
Yeah.
You really do.
I might have to pause and watch Alias first.
Well, it was at a certain point playing in the same timeline as Buffy.
Yeah.
But it gives away stuff. So like you really should finish Buffy first.
Yeah. I did start season 4 with the baby Pedro Pascal in the college years, and then he immediately gets like killed and turned into a vampire, and I was like, wah, wah.
Did you think he was cute as a vampire?
Dude, not really. As a vampire, like when he was like undead human face, yes.
Well, sure.
But vampire face, no thank you. But like human face, I messaged you guys. I would have made out with him so hard when I was in college if I went to school with him.
He looks exactly the same, with the exception of he doesn't have like the boy's body anymore.
Yes,
but
like he's very boyish.
Looks exactly the same.
Oh,
It's insane.
I would have been so into that. I had one semester in college between like breaking up with my high school boyfriend and meeting Robbie where it was like, hey, everybody, I'm on the market again. And Pedro would have gotten it. Good job, Pedro. We might edit that out. The audio.
I don't think we need to.
No, I think it's good.
I think it stays. I think that everything that we say is true needs to stay.
Outvoted.
Maybe Robbie won't listen to this episode. Like, he doesn't know you would have ridden Pedro Pascal.
You know, he honestly may not.
You talk about him like every episode. How would he not?
Well, that's true. Well,
also, I'm sure after that episode, you were like, hey, Robbie. How you doing?
How you doing?
Hey, your name's Pedro. I'm Whitney.
So anyway. What are you guys listening to? Anything fun? Anything sexy?
I'm just still listening to the Dear Felicity podcast.
Oh, I think that's fun though.
No, it is. It's been really fun and now I feel I can't watch two things at the same time. So I have to finish my Alias rewatch before I do a Felicity rewatch. But I've rewatched Felicity like 3 times, which is unheard of for me. So I think I'm gonna have to wait, but it's been fun listening to some of the meta, like there's some meta episodes in there that I'd forgotten about. There's one that's like looks like a Twilight Zone episode.
Oh.
And it's really cool. So I'm like, maybe I'll just go back and like watch a couple of those just to tide me over.
Yeah. Is that good enough to go back and watch if you've never watched it? Or is it more like nostalgia because you watched it live? You know what I mean?
No, I think it's great. I think it's just different from anything else, even that was on the WB. It's very raw. It's very.
I was too young to watch it.
It was very emotional, but
you weren't allowed to watch the WB.
I know, right?
Apparently,
but it's got like hilarious, funny moments. I don't know. It's got a young Rob Benedict in it, and his character is fucking hilarious.
Oh, not like more than just like a guest star in an episode.
No, I mean he's like in several, and he actually goes through 4 seasons. 4 seasons. It's college, freshman through senior.
Well, good for him.
And so he's in there. But oh my gosh, he's so funny. He's like this like neurotic.
Yeah.
He's the one guy's the RA, and he bugs the RA so bad, and he like has a toaster in his oven. I don't know. It's
He has
just
a toaster in his oven?
room. I mean, there's like a whole scene
that's
where
I'd be
dangerous.
upset about that too.
where he has like dirt on the RA, so he's like,
yeah.
I'm gonna keep this toaster. He's just so funny.
Whoa, what a rebel. I will say,
Such a bad boy.
just to bring it all the way back to fandoms, Rob Benedict is also in an episode of Alias, season 4.
Oh yes, he is. Yep.
Oh, I don't remember that.
He's in it for like a hot minute.
Yeah.
Is he also in Buffy? Probably not. I feel like a bunch of
wait,
people.
I think
He is.
he
He's a
is.
vampire in the
Yes,
it's like
he
season
is.
1.
Oh, then I already saw him.
Yeah. So the
look at
WB
that.
was like, Rob Benedict, we got you.
Yeah. They hire the same
For those
people.
of
They
you-
really do.
For those of you who don't know who we're talking about, Rob Benedict plays Chuck on Supernatural. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And if you've
Which
never
was
heard
on-
about us talking about that show, I don't know where you've been.
Yeah. A new listener.
Sorry. Yes, new listeners, we're really glad you're here.
So, Deb, what are you listening to?
For the first time in my life, I'm in an audiobook slump. I'm really struggling with audiobooks right now. And part of it is just, I think, like my mental health state right now. Like everything feels very anxious. That's the only way to put it. And so when I feel like that overstimulation is like too much,
It's too
right?
much, yeah.
I can see
So
that.
having said that, normally I read like 2 audiobooks a week. And I
Yeah.
think I've only read 2 this month. Like that's it. Well, listen to. But I did finish today, actually, The Prisoner's Throne, which is the second book in the Air duology by Holly Black. And I will say they definitely set that book up to have another Carden and Jude book.
Oh, yeah.
So I need to do some
Oh.
research into this,
Gosh,
like the way
that
they
would
left
be
it.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then I am finishing Trisha Wolfe's Lovely Wicked Things audio arc. Her books are really dark and cerebral and like hella fun.
Yeah.
Like she's very, very intelligent. We met her at Less Than a Low
Yeah,
Country.
she's really cool.
But the serial killer uses like he leaves clues behind from like philosophers, and so
Oh.
the FBI agent has to actually pull this guy she put behind bars for like because he was a serial killer,
Yeah.
and he was a professor of philosophy, and then of course they start like fucking and stuff.
Oh.
As one does.
Yes.
Yeah,
Of
and
course.
he helps her find the dark side of herself.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's very cerebral though, and I really like it. It's great.
Well, I'm on kind of a true crime. You know, we're reading Butcher and Blackbird, so I've got a lot of like true crime on the brain. I've just been listening to random crime junkie episodes. I'll just kind of scroll through and just wait until
I do that every once in a
yeah,
while.
like I'll just go through the even stuff I've listened to before, but if I recognize the case or a victim name or, you know, the criminal's name or whatever, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll listen to that. True crime is a hyperfixation right now, I think.
My only thing is I feel like they talk a lot about young teenagers going missing. And
They do a lot
as
of missing,
someone
yeah.
with a 12 and 16-year-old in the
Yeah.
house, I tend to skip those episodes, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of them.
They do a lot of missing cases or like unexplained death cases. And I'm always, if it's too recent, then I skip those. But if it's like from the 80s or something, then I'm like,
Sure.
oh, well, that's not relevant. Like that makes any sense at all. But in my brain, it does. So.
I like they do these ones like I Survived episodes that I really like.
I love
And then they
those.
also, like when a serial killer gets caught, they'll usually do like another episode on that person, which I
Yeah.
think is really cool.
Yeah, I love those too. What are you guys loving?
What are you loving, Whit?
Well, I had a really hard time this week deciding what I was going to put. I had 2 things, and I couldn't decide which one should be the nerdiest thing of the week and which one should be what I'm loving. And I'm still not sure that I made the right choice. But what I chose for what I'm loving, okay. So this is just really random. So I have PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which is basically like really horrible PMS, like mental health horrible. So I'm trying some new things, some new strategies for that, like the PMS week, right? And so for a lot of people, according to the PMDD subreddit, baking is a really big like coping thing. And so I was like, I'm going to bake some stuff. And so I did. And honestly, it actually did help.
What did you make?
So I made 2 different types of scones. I made chocolate chip buttermilk scones, which are in my freezer and fantastic. And I
Did
made
you drink the buttermilk raw?
I didn't, but I did think about you talking about that last week with the drinking the butter. I was like, no, thank you. But I made 2 batches of honey cinnamon scones. Those are also in my freezer. They're really good.
Why are they in
delicious.
your freezer and none? There aren't
Because-
3 here.
Well, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Can you do buttermilk?
I could do the other one.
They both have buttermilk in them, though.
Oh, how much?
A lot.
Oh, okay.
like a cup.
I can watch you eat one.
But so when you make scones, it requires you to cut butter into your dry flour mixture, which means you take really cold butter and you cut it up into small pieces, and then you
fold it in.
Basically,
Just
yeah,
fold
like
it.
you take like knives or your fingers and you basically like mix up the butter so that it's not the bigger chopped pieces anymore, but that your flour mixture with the butter is kind of like sandy. Yeah. And so then the butter melts when you bake it and it makes it all like yummy and good.
I'm like smiling at you because when you said you use your fingers or your knives, I pictured Edward Scissorhands.
He would be so good at cutting butter in.
Great.
Oh, he would be so good at
If
it.
you're watching our YouTube studio feed, which you should, you can see what I mean.
Well, it's really tedious to do that. And so I saw a picture. It wasn't even like a life hack. It was just a picture. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that girl used a cheese grater for her butter and like grated the cheese into really small pieces. And I was like, I'm going to do that. So the first batch of scones I made, I just did it the old fashioned way, which sucks and takes forever.
That's for suckers.
It is for suckers. The cheese grater was like the most perfect thing. And it was so freaking fast. And it was so much easier
that's awesome.
to cut the butter in. And you can see why I struggled. Like, should this be what I'm loving or should this be the nerdiest thing of the week? But I was all about butter and cheese graters this week. And my kids were like, whatever, we don't care. These are delicious.
Okay.
Just let us eat it.
If I tell you
was really
how
good.
to edit that recipe to make it where I can eat it, will you make me some scones? I
Yeah.
love scones.
Yeah.
And I never get them.
Oh, yeah. Tell me how to.
Okay.
Yeah. Send me.
Our
send me
listeners
something.
don't want to hear that, but I'll tell you when we get offline.
I can make you. So that is a life hack for anybody who bakes out there. Use the cheese grater to cut your butter into small pieces and cut it into your flour mixture. It's a lot easier. So that's what I'm loving this week.
That was pretty fucking nerdy.
I know.
I did the same thing though, where I was like, which one's nerdier? So mine's pretty nerdy too. So I mentioned last season that I started to see a new therapist, and she's been helping me work through like living with an autoimmune disease and how it's affected my productivity. So anyone that knows me at all knows that I'm very competitive, very hard on myself when I don't get to do the things that I want to do. And I've always kept a weekly to-do list, but honestly, it's become really overwhelming because my entire week has to shift if I have a bad RA day.
Yeah.
And then I have like 800 things that didn't get done that day, right? So we decided, me and my therapist, that I'm going to make a daily to-do list every day after I'm up and see like how I feel for the day, right?
Yeah.
So I downloaded an app called Smart Tasks, which I have linked in the show notes, which allows me to create a daily list and cross them off from a widget on my phone. So it feels like
Nice.
you have like an
Crossing
actual
it
to-do
off,
list,
yeah.
right? Crossing things off is my favorite part.
Me
I
too.
love that too. I actually have either the same or a similar one. Mine's like to do today, to do tomorrow, and then upcoming.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. And what I like about it too is that you can go and like look at your completed list, so you like feel more accomplished. And my therapist told me at the end of the day I need to have a like done list and like really recognize all of the things. So
How much you did.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I had to add new things today, even if I wouldn't have normally put them on my list, I put them on my list and crossed them off so I could go back later and be like, okay, I'm not fucking this up.
No.
There
Yeah.
is real value in doing that, like making sure that you add something and
Right.
then cross it off for people that does help them. There's like studies have been done.
It's a
Like,
dopamine
right.
hit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really hard when you like go from a executive position to part-time to even more part-time. And even though I've taken my design business full-time, it's very difficult when you're the only employee.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, it's called Smart Tasks. I would highly recommend it
Yeah.
if you're
Very
having trouble
cool.
with productivity.
It's very wise to do it every day too. Like, what
Yeah.
kind of day am I having today?
Yes.
Like, be realistic with what I'm going to be able to do today.
Right.
Which is hard. It's hard for me too. But oddly enough, I'm working on the same kind of idea with my therapist.
Oh,
So.
that's funny. Shout out to therapists.
Therapy.
For the record, I put way too much stuff on my list today. It is not going to be done. I have to move some stuff to tomorrow.
I pretty much always do that.
I do too.
Mindy, what are you loving?
I'm just ready for spooky season. There's just so
yeah.
much coming. We've got a new coffee house opening up in our area that's like gothic looking. It's like
Yeah.
called Witch's Brew, and it's very cool. And so on
And you
the,
bitches wanted to go like when it opened on the first day. I was like,
I can't
and
do that.
Well, I wrote to you guys. I said, witches don't get up at 7:30, and neither am I.
But it made me really, really excited about spooky season. And yes, there's already Halloween stuff out and around. So my daughter loves energy drinks. So she's like the connoisseur. And she's like, Mom, they have the new Alani out, and it's the special edition energy drink, and it's caramel apple flavored.
Ooh.
It is so freaking good. And it's not like super caramelly. It's just got enough of that to make it taste like fall.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
When
like
does
Alani
spooky
stuff.
season start for you guys?
Yesterday.
September.
See, it's like the day after Memorial Day.
Labor Day.
Labor
yeah,
Day.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the day after Labor Day.
Pretty much.
is
Like
it
when
starts for me.
the pool closes,
Yep.
it's like, okay, summer is over. Fall has started.
I'm
Yeah.
like, now it needs to be 60 degrees,
Yep.
and I need
Yes.
boots and
I
sweaters.
want to be able to wear a sweatshirt without sweating.
Right.
That would be great.
I mean,
Like,
I don't.
so much.
I don't do that. Still,
I don't
but
either.
I still sweat through my sweatshirt because I'm sexy.
Hot girl sweat. So that brings us to our nerdiest topic today. We're talking about It Ends With Us, the book versus the movie. The book was written by Colleen Hoover. We all read this. What was it, last year for book club?
Oh, a couple years ago,
Or-
wasn't it? Yeah,
I can't remember.
It's been out for a while.
The book's been out for a while. The movie just came out a couple weeks ago. So let's talk about our thoughts and opinions. And I wonder how much of this we agree on and how much we don't agree on. This will be an
Yeah.
interesting,
Yeah.
an interesting.
I have a
interesting
feeling
thing.
we'll be a little bit more in agreement than we were on Manacled.
Yeah, that might be true.
Hey, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah. So, just overall thoughts on the movie as a book adaptation. How did you guys feel about that?
I enjoyed it as an adaptation. I think it stayed pretty true to the storyline mostly. I didn't feel like they took things out that they left them out for no good reason. Like I feel like it's flowed. I feel like if you didn't read the book, you'd still get the gist of everything.
Yeah.
In my opinion, but I forget things. So, and
Yeah.
which I'll get to that in the changes in the movie that I liked.
I liked it as an adaptation too. I thought they did a good job keeping true to the bones of the story
Yes.
of the book, right? Which, I mean, it's always, you're always leaving stuff out when you go turn a story from a book to a movie. There's not ever enough time to do all the details. Like, that's why it's a book, because you have all those details, right?
Right.
But I do think, compared to, what did we do a few episodes ago in the previous season, the book adaptations?
Oh, the
Idea of
movies.
You?
Yeah. And we talked about, I remember I talked about like the Scarlet Letter. That's like, it was the title and then the movie was completely different, right?
Yeah.
I feel like they did a good job staying true to, mostly staying true to the characters and the story the way that it's laid out in the book. So I thought they did a good job with that.
I agree with you. Overall, I think this movie is really well done. I'm personally not a huge Coho fan, but the reason this book resonates with me personally is that it shows us how someone can get trapped in an abusive relationship and how a charming, good-looking guy who's really good at gaslighting can make someone believe that each abuse instant is an accident, right?
Right.
The movie also does this, like where you don't kind of realize it at first, which I loved. Although I have read that has been confusing for people who haven't read the book. Like they feel like they were accidents, right? Until suddenly they're not, which is kind of how the book moves
That was my favorite part of this movie as an adaptation.
That was my favorite kind of change. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the pacing of the movie is really great and the emotional depth of the film really stands out. Having said that, we all know that this movie has been marketed as a rom-com, which is very problematic for people with abuse triggers. I'm a visual person, and even though I knew the abuse was coming, I had a very difficult time watching this and pretty much cried the entire time, if I'm going to be honest. I can't imagine how I would have felt if I'd gone into the theater thinking I was watching like a cute little love story.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
I've seen I can't speak from personal experience, but I have seen on social media abuse survivors that have had very mixed opinions. I've seen some people say that they really did not resonate with the portrayal, and I've seen other people say this is the only time I've seen a portrayal of domestic violence that resonated with my experience.
I agree with you on this, on the second part, right?
Yeah.
And we did do a little Instagram post highlighting other heavy books and what their marketing would have been if it had been taken too lightly. So it's posted in the show notes, and it's funny, I gotta say.
People on TikTok did other movies, and there was one that was like, he's making a list and checking it twice. Liam Neeson stars in Schindler's List. Stuff stuff like that. I mean, it was really, really hilarious. But no, I loved my favorite part of the adaptation was the ambiguity of the actual abuse, because that's part of the whole point of
where you just believe it's an accident and you believe that with the character.
Well, because when I read the book, I know not everybody has this experience reading It Ends With Us, but I had no idea that there was any kind of abuse at all. And I didn't know anything about the book. So when that started happening, I was like, wait, what? Just like Lily is. Like, that's how they want you to feel as the reader, because that's how she seems to feel as the character. You know what I mean?
Perfect example of like, but he's a doctor and he's so nice. And like, he would never do that to you.
Yeah.
Right.
I loved that in the movie, where it's like you kind of, especially the first time when he burns his hand and she suddenly falls over, she says in the movie, what just happened?
Yeah.
And you feel like that as the viewer too, right? And then at the end, when they show that montage of like, no, this is what actually happened.
Right.
I loved that. I thought that was really powerful.
She's almost an unreliable narrator in that way, which works really well. Again, for someone who is an abuse survivor, like, you really think there's no way that actually could have just happened. Mm-hmm. And then if someone who is very charming tells you it didn't, you're like, okay, because I would never put myself in that situation. That's what she keeps saying.
And if it's someone you actually love, like she still loved him even in the end. Like, it's somebody you love, you don't want to believe that that's what it was. Yeah. So, you know, if it happens the first time, you want to talk yourself out of it. And then as it goes on, it becomes harder and harder to make excuses.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
I will say, too, I thought the casting was exceptional for this.
I
think
agree.
Isabella Ferrer, who is the actress who plays young Lily, could easily be Blake Lively as a teenager. Like,
absolutely.
Hands down. It's just uncanny. And then I loved the actress who played Alyssa. She was adorable. And I thought maybe she might be a little too over the top for me, but like, that's kind of how she was in the book. So I think she portrayed that really well. Marshall was a little over the top, but it was also endearing.
Yeah, it was funny to me. Both of those roles were filled with actors who are comedians.
Oh, okay.
Like they are both like stand-up comedians and comedic actors, which like you're saying, like that's kind of how they were in the book.
Yeah.
You know, they were the comic relief. They were a little bit more over the top. So I liked that.
I want to go back to what you said about Isabella Ferrer though, because she did do an amazing job. She had like the husky voice. She had Blake Lively's like lip movements down.
She talked like her.
Yeah. And apparently she submitted herself as an open call on social media. And according to the director and the star, Justin Gabaldi, her tape got instant approval from Blake Lively. So she just did an open casting call. If you go to IMDb, she's not on anything else.
She looks so much like Blake Lively. When Mindy and I went and saw it together, and I said, I feel like they might have like computerized her face to make her look more like Blake Lively. Like, it was so insane.
Uncanny. I don't want to say the wrong thing, so the listeners need to go look it up. And I'm sorry I don't have it in my notes, but she has a very interesting ethnicity where she's like, I forgot. It's definitely Irish, but then it was like Filipino or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's like really, really interesting. But if you see pictures of her, that's how good of an actress she is. She does not look like a teenager.
Yeah. In real life
at all.
Yeah. No, I agree.
She did a great job.
I think I liked the younger Lily and younger Atlas the best of all the casting in the movie. I just thought they did a really good job.
Their scenes were my favorite.
I don't know. This is probably going to be a hot take. I liked Blake Lively as Lily. I liked Justin Baldoni as what's his face? I was going to say
Ryle.
I was going to say Ryder. I was like, that wasn't right.
I was going to say Raul.
Yeah, no. Ryle. And I like Brandon. What's his name? Sklenar. I don't know how to say it. Sklenar, I think is how. But I liked him as Atlas. Yeah. However, I will say for me, I didn't really get a whole lot of like heat and chemistry between Blake Lively and either of those guys.
That's what I was going to say. When we talk about changes maybe we didn't love so much in the movie, I did like him as a portrayal for Atlas because he's like ruggedly good looking.
Yes, yeah.
And he's supposed to be very mature and serious, but I missed seeing the sweet side of his character that you see in the book. Like he has his friends over and she's there and like she kind of becomes part of his crowd and like, and they do have more interaction, right? Where he's kind of like taking care of her and stuff.
Yep.
And I missed seeing that on the screen. Because I think as a viewer, if you hadn't read the book, you'd be like, I don't, okay.
What is it with this guy?
Right. Yeah.
Which again, the younger Atlas, I feel like did such a good job with like that sweetness. Those were the parts of the movie where I got I mean, like the very beginning, the first flashback to them as teenagers, I said to Mindy, I was like, and I'm already crying. Just like how nice she was to him.
I know.
And I don't know. Maybe part of it is that I'm a mom, and part of it is that I was a teacher I had kids in my class that were like that were Atlas. You know what I mean? And so you just, I don't know, that I was like, she's so nice to him. He just needs somebody to love him. You know?
He did. He just needed someone to throw him a bone.
I do want to give a shout out to, I didn't even write down the actor's actual name, so sorry everybody, but the actor who plays Dr. Owen Hunt at Grey's Anatomy, he was Lily's dad. So shout out to the Grey's Anatomy actor. I was like, at his funeral scene, I was like, I think that's the guy from Grey's Anatomy. And then in the flashbacks, I was like, yeah, that's definitely the guy from Grey's Anatomy. So
I wasn't looking at him in the flashbacks. Those were really hard to watch.
Yeah.
I do have a hot take too, casting wise.
Tell us.
Personally, and you all have heard me say this, I don't find Justin Baldoni attractive at all. I think he needs to decide if he wants a beard or not. Like fully commit or shave that shit off. I mean, maybe if he's shaved, I could see the appeal. I don't know. I don't find him sexy at all.
Pictures of him, just like online or whatever. I'm like, okay, he's a intrinsically good-looking guy, right? In the movie, when he lays the charm on thick, like he's very, very attractive.
See, I don't see it,
but I also, love his curls and all that.
It's not even that. I think it's just, I don't know. I think I would have liked to have seen his character
naked.
No.
I mean, the first time he takes off his shirt, you're like, "Oh my god!"
I know he's a little too muscular for me, to be honest.
Yeah,
with you.
not for
a
me.
little weird, but
can't relate.
I'd hug that shit like a bear on a tree.
I don't know. I think maybe it's a credit to his acting. I feel like that character, I should want to feel a little bit more sorry for him, and I just don't, because I don't find it, like, I'm not attracted to him. Like, I don't see how she loves him, but again, that is so personal preference.
Because Mindy could never love an ugly guy.
Shout out to Darren. So were there any changes in the movie that you liked? Changes from the book to the movie?
I am so happy they took out the Dear Ellens.
That's what I said. That was the only change that I said that I liked.
There's a quick reference to it in the movie, and I think that was a callback to the book fans,
it
right?
Was literally just a picture.
But I think it would have made the movie feel extremely dated.
Yeah.
And it takes up far too much page time in the book.
Yeah, it's too much.
They were able to show instead of tell in the movie.
This one was one of those where I completely forgot. I think I don't know who I was talking to. I was like, "What are you talking about? Who's Ellen?" I wrote, "I can't decide if I like that they took her notes to Ellen out or not." I had actually totally forgotten about that whole situation for some reason. So I guess I just don't mind that it was mostly absent.
Yeah, no, I think it's good that they didn't have that in there. It would have been really weird. It was weird in the book for me.
Clearly, I thought it was so weird that I didn't want to think about it anymore.
You just blocked it from your memory.
Did.
What about changes that you did not like?
Go ahead, Mindy.
Well, I was going to say we've already talked about it. I really just didn't like how they took out all of Atlas's non-work life.
Me too.
It made him seem kind of one-dimensional.
Agreed.
I would have liked to see her meet his poker friends and hang out like in the book, like we talked about, because then Atlas would have seemed so much more like the lovesick puppy who only pined after Lily all the time.
Exactly. That is exactly what I wrote down too. Yeah, they taking that part of his life out of the movie definitely portrayed him to me as like he's just been waiting for Lily to come find him. But in the book, he has this entire life, right? Like he's definitely pining after Lily in the book. However, he has also moved on and is like a whole person without her, which is part of his appeal for me, reading him as a character. But I will say too, that part of kind of related to that, taking away his friends and taking away that whole scene with the poker game and stuff. I honestly wish that they had made Ryle a little I feel like this sounds weird. I wish that they would have made him scarier in the movie because in the book, Lily she is terrified of him. By the time that she asks Atlas for help, like she is whispering on the phone, sneaking out of the apartment. Like it's way more intense in the book, that scene, than it was in the movie. And I don't know if they wanted to just keep it like a PG-13 rating, which maybe that's what they were doing. But I just felt like the intensity was, I mean, it was still an intense scene, but for me, it felt way lower than that scene in the book does. And like calling Atlas in the middle of the night and the whispering on the phone, whatever, like she just shows up at his work and walks back to the kitchen, like at the restaurant, which I thought was kind of weird, but I didn't like that. I felt like she seemed too comfortable with Ryle in the movie after all of that stuff, and not afraid of him because like she sees his true colors. Right. You know what I mean?
She sees what's happening. Speaking of things that felt a little bit over the top for me, I know there were a lot of references to the domestic abuse that was happening in Lily's childhood home in the book, but I don't remember so much of it being on page. And I felt like it went a little over the top with the amount of times that, which trigger warning, we see her dad choking her mother. It happened like 3 or 4 times. And again, for abuse survivors sitting in the theater, like
that's a lot.
We know what and all you had to do is have like that one time, but it felt like they should have done more with Ryle's character instead of having
the
scenes.
dad.
Yeah. Cause you understand what her trauma is very quickly, actually.
I agree with that.
But I felt like those were, it was unneeded violence in the movie. And I don't say that very often, but I felt like it got repetitive and it just wasn't necessary.
Yeah, I felt like they could have used some of that with Ryle instead of the dad. And that, I mean, I feel like that sounds weird because I don't want it to sound like I'm like, he wasn't bad enough, because that's not really what I mean, right? Like it just, there was an air of intensity and fear that Lily has in the book that I just did not get in the movie.
I would agree with that.
It was just,
it's like they spread it out over the 2 characters instead of focusing in on the one.
Guess. Yeah. But which did you guys prefer, the book or the movie?
For this one, I'm going to say movie.
Yeah?
Yeah, I just enjoyed the pacing better, and I feel like Blake Lively really brought Lily's character to life. And honestly, Justin Baldoni's, I keep wanting to say Gabaldi.
Yeah.
Who is that? Who's Gabaldi?
I don't know.
Diana Gabaldi? Outlander.
Oh, Gabaldon,
yeah.
That was close.
Did I say Gabaldi earlier?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
You did.
I like how neither of you corrected me either. Justin Baldoni's.
I thought about it.
You could have. Him flipping from charismatic doctor to abusive piece of shit was actually very believable. And how someone who is an abuser can flip back and forth so easily.
Yes.
He did a really good job with that.
Yeah, I saw him in one of his interviews too, where he said, I think the interviewer said something like that, like, you know, you're so charming and you're charismatic as this character. And he said, well, yeah, because you have to believe that Lily would actually care about him and love him because she does stay with him for a while. And you have to believe that she has a reason for that. Not just like she's scared to leave. She genuinely cares about him. And I thought they both did a really good job portraying that. But I would still say the book.
I don't think I will ever pick a book over a movie, especially if it's a book that I actually liked. I'm not going to see movies of shit books that I didn't care for, right? So like maybe that's why, but
I am going to correct you because I think you just said that backwards. You said I'm never going to pick a book over a movie. Is that what you meant?
I meant movie over a book. Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you for correcting. Yeah. I will never, I don't think I did write it down wrong too. I won't ever pick it's always better. The book's always better for me. Yeah. And I think it's because I see movies of books that I really like. So
I generally feel that way too. The only reason that I would pick this movie over the book is because they took out the Ellen stuff. I mean, honestly.
Well, clearly that wasn't in the book for me.
When I've reread, because I've reread this book a couple of times, and I literally skip over the Ellen stuff. Like I just act like it's not there. So, is there anything else? Any other thoughts?
I mean, go ahead.
I was just
Mindy.
going to say, should we talk about the drama around the marketing and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, let's go.
So I will say, I mean, it's a rabbit hole, listeners, if you want to look it up, if you haven't seen it. Like, there's a lot of drama. There's weirdness between Justin Baldoni as the director and one of the stars and Blake Lively. He follows everybody, you know, Colleen Hoover, Blake Lively, Jenny Slate. He follows them on social media. They do not follow him on social media. They have all done interviews together. He has not done interviews with any of them. He's done interviews completely by himself. He did not do the red carpet with them. He did not even go to London for the London premiere of this movie. He's done a lot by himself, and they've done a lot with each other. So there's something weird happening, and there's a lot of gossip and a lot of rumors about it. And I will just say that I understand why that has become like a hot topic for entertainment news and stuff and social media. However, it really bums me out because this movie was really well done.
Yeah.
And it has been such a great opportunity to have a real conversation about a topic that doesn't really get a whole lot of airtime with domestic violence. And it bums me out that the stupid, petty, whatever crap drama has overshadowed what could have been a more important conversation. Yeah. And I will say props to Justin Baldoni, because in his interviews and in his press, he's the only one from this movie that I've seen talk about domestic violence at all and talk about it as like the focus of wanting to make this a good movie.
You also would think that they would want to make sure that they're focusing on that after so many people criticized Coho for romanticizing this stuff, like trying to make like a fucking coloring book out of this book. Yeah. Right? Like, and I don't remember, quite frankly, what was romanticized out of the book because I read it a long time ago. I just think, you know, that she does a good job depicting what abuse is like. But you know, you said it earlier, having someone go like, put on your florals and meet your girlfriends and say nothing else about the movie.
It's crazy.
It is. It's like it's almost like the production house or the studio's telling them like, well, don't talk about that because nobody wants to hear about it.
Nobody wants to see a depressing movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, we do. We watch depressing shit all the time.
Well, it hasn't seemed to affect it in the box office.
Seems to be doing pretty good.
Seems to be doing pretty well.
Yeah.
I do think it's important to look at a movie or a piece of work separate from any drama that the creators have. But also in this case, the fact that some of those actors have been very insensitive to the delicate subject matter is a little unnerving. Yeah. I don't know. But again, it didn't. I'm trying to look at it separately.
Sure.
But it also makes the possibility of seeing us, and it starts with us on the big screen, maybe a little more questionable.
That was going to be what I was going to say too, because I think that second story is also very, very special.
Yes.
It has more to do with Atlas, and I would really love to see that movie.
Me too.
And it's too bad because I'm not real sure it'll get
as
made.
of right now. I don't think. I definitely don't. Well, on the red carpet, a reporter asked Justin Baldoni, like, "Are you thinking about the second movie?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm not doing that."
He said Blake Lively should direct it, which seemed a little bit like a biting comment.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
was.
he said, "I think she's ready to direct. I think that's what I think." And I was like, "Ooh." Yeah. But I will also say too, people on social media have kind of jumped on this as an opportunity to like shit on Blake Lively, which okay, but again, it's taking away from what should be a more important like a more important conversation. But I will say too, I saw a clip of Blake Lively with the Brandon, I keep wanting to call him the wrong name, Brandon Sklenar, who plays Atlas, if I'm saying his name wrong, sorry. But the reporter basically says to Blake Lively, you know, you're going to have domestic violence survivors who want to come talk to you about their lives because you have done this movie, right? Like, you know, how do you feel about that was basically the question.
I think it was like, what would you say to them?
Yeah, or something like that. And she was like, what did they want? Like my phone number? You want to share my location? And like, it was this really weird response that was like not an answer to the question at all. And like,
it's almost like there's no PR firm behind this.
It's really
like,
weird.
Here's what you say, because you're going to get asked questions about domestic violence.
It's so
and it's like
strange.
They've not prepped them, you know, because if you've never been through anything like that, you would not know how to talk about it. And it could be very intimidating to talk about. But if you were going to do a movie with this type of subject matter, you need to be trained to talk to abuse survivors.
Absolutely.
Well, and Justin Baldoni has said multiple times that they worked, and we've linked this in the show notes. They work or at least he worked with a group called No More, which is domestic violence, like awareness and resources and help. And he has talked a lot in his interviews about talking to them and having counselors work with him. And like they were partners with the movie, but it seems like he's the only one that worked with them.
And maybe that's where the rift is. I mean, I don't know. But again, I want to follow up with what you all said. Is I think we should focus less on the drama behind the actors and actresses of the movie and focus more on using this movie as a learning opportunity about how this happens to people.
Yeah, because I do think it's a really good. I think like the battered wife is kind of a stereotype in movies and in books that is not real to what people's experience actually is, because there are still so many people who think like, well, just leave. And like, it just isn't that simple. It's just not, you know.
I do also like that people can learn how to be an ally as well, because I loved Alyssa, the sister, Raul's sister's point when she says, as his sister, I really wish you could find it in your heart to forgive him, but as your best friend, if you don't leave him, I'll fucking hit you or whatever.
I will never talk to you again.
Yeah.
And for me, because I was like, oh no, they're about to blow it. And then she said that and I was like, oh, thank God.
Thank goodness. Like, I just feel like, you know, as somebody who, you know, may know somebody that is going through that right now, like to know how to be that kind of positive ally and to be somebody that will be there for them.
Yeah.
You know,
I think the other thing too is that if they were to make a second movie, and to your point about them not really making Ryle as terrifying as he really was in the book, that gets way worse in the second book.
Yes, exactly.
And so I think it would be almost unbelievable because people would be like, why is he so violent? Well, he was always that violent.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because in the book, in the second book,
scary.
He is scary.
She is afraid of him.
Yeah. In
like,
the first
the
book,
whole
he is too.
time.
But yeah, she's terrified.
In book 2, she is afraid of him.
But she's no like whimpering woman either.
Yeah.
She gets her shit done.
Yeah.
And you know, I remember reading the book when she's in the hospital and she goes, I want a divorce. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because I was like, what's going to happen? Like, is she really going to go back to him?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I will say it doesn't mean that a book wouldn't do well if she had, you know?
Right.
But that made me respect the book more, that they did not end up together at the end.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I was trying to explain this movie to my dad, like the plot of it. And for some reason, I was like, I don't want to give any spoilers. So I was like, she falls in love with this guy, but then it turns into an abusive relationship. And he was like, that sounds horrible. And I was like, you should watch it. Because I didn't want to ruin like the Atlas experience. So I was like, he's not going to watch this movie ever. I don't know why I made him think. Yeah. So now he thinks that I'm like, well, he hits her, but it's great. Like, I've made my dad think that it was not the right thing.
Before we move on to our nerdiest thing of the week, do you mind going back in your notes and giving the abuse information again?
Yep.
Hotline.
You can text the word begin, BEGIN, to 88788, or you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 800-799-7233.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's go into our nerdiest things of the week. Mindy, will you go first? Because I want to hear about your sunglasses.
So I work in an elementary school, and for some reason, our principal is huge on like dress up days. And last year we had one like every week.
Oh
okay.
My gosh.
And most of them, I'm like, I cannot be that gung ho that early in the morning. Like, I cannot dress up like a princess or a book character when I have to get up at, the butt crack of dawn. So
I always dress like a princess.
You always look put together. I do not.
I do not.
So it was sunglasses day, and I was so excited because I was like, I can do this one. I have a shirt with a girl that has sunglasses on, and then I have like prescription sunglasses. It's like, I am going, to me, this is like
that's
going
all out. Yeah.
That's all out, right? So last year, all the dress up days were on Wednesdays. So on Wednesday, I show up with my sunglasses outfit, and it wasn't until Thursday.
Oh, no.
And I was like, I want you to know that I'm not wearing this shirt again tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I was all in for sunglasses day.
A for effort, Mindy.
I know. I'm like, well, that just makes me like not.
You know what, though? At least it was just a shirt.
I know, right? Like I didn't like crazy hair or something.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. I would have.
That would have been awful.
I would have died. But that's totally something I would do, too.
But I have one more little added nerdiest thing. I did order a bucket hat that says "Good Girl" on it.
Yes.
And I love it. It's amazing.
It is very cute.
Well,
I don't think I'll be wearing it on hat day though.
that segues into my nerdiest thing of the week because you wore it to our second annual adults only water slide book club day.
Mm-hmm.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
You walked in and I was like, does your bucket hat say "Good Girl"? Because like they're so at odds with each other, right?
Yeah.
I felt like Blossom just walked in and we had to tell her what a good girl was. And just for our listeners, our adults only water slide book club day is exactly what it sounds like. We day drink, we have a water slide competition, and then we read quietly until about 10 p.m. And if your book club isn't doing this, you should be.
Yeah, definitely.
It's very fun.
Deb made us party favors too. It was
I know,
amazing.
that was really cute. I'm using one right now with my tea. Well, my nerdiest thing of the week, honestly, is probably the cheese grater for the butter. But the other nerdiest thing of the week is, so I'm trying different strategies for my PMDD, and one of them is to color in my adult coloring book that has like really complicated pictures and lots of really small spaces to color in. So I was influenced on TikTok and bought a set of Grabby brand glitter pens. Guys, these are like the nicest pens I have ever used in my life, and they are so freaking pretty. They have different color glitter. So like there's a purple ink that has really pretty blue glitter, and there's like a green that has like orange glitter. Ooh. Like it's not like it's a gold pen. Yeah, it's not like a gold pen and gold glitter. Like it's multicolored. It's like duo toned or whatever. And they are so pretty. And the ink just glides out so nice. The kids are like, "Can we color with your pens?" And they all like,
no.
Yeah, my two kids and I all sat at the kitchen table and like used all my glitter pens in this coloring book. And Liam was like, "These are nice." I was like, "I know." And so anyway, the finished product is so pretty and very sparkly and glittery, and it really genuinely was like relaxing and fun to do.
Okay, I'm literally going to order those today.
They're in the show notes. Yeah. They were like $15.
Oh my gosh.
They have sets of 12 and sets of 18. I got the set of 12. But they're very, very pretty.
How cool.
And I'm already needing to like order more because I'm like, we're going to run out of these so fast. It's not even funny. But they're very, very, very nice. So those are our nerdiest things of the week. And I think that's it for this episode. Please keep listening for our interview with author Courtney Dean. She is lots of fun. And make sure you tune in on Thursdays for our read-along episodes with Butcher and Blackbird. And we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I feel like